Do you accept yourself? This is Philip Montrose, my wife and partner, Jane and I. We help people to step up and tap into the heart of success with holistic coaching and healing. And in this short video, I want to explore about accepting yourself. Now, that may seem obvious. I am who I am. I accept myself. Yes, do you, with your warts and all, those blemishes, those things that are not as enjoyable, perhaps real or imagined, that can make you feel a little uncomfortable. It does most people, and yet we are kind of like justice. It just is. We just are. We are who we are, and part of that is to recognize, acknowledge that, know who we are, and I'm not talking about denying yourself or inflating yourself or blaming yourself. That's not what we're talking about, of course, in accepting yourself. And there's an interesting saying by the psychologist Carl Rogers. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I change. And that's an interesting thing. You have to accept yourself, and then you can change. You're not stuck because you're accepting yourself as is, like you're fixed. It's actually more fluid. But that resistance to who you are is actually keeps you stuck. That's the paradox. So I want to suggest 4 ways to accept yourself. First, set an intention to accept yourself. Intend to do that. So every day is a new day, right? And you have an assignment, you and you're partnering with, I'll say, God or the universe, to have this role, this part where things come your way. And if you intend to accept yourself, and hopefully you'll have a purpose and a mission built in there sooner or later, you're going to live fully. You're going to live a life of self-acceptance, and that will give you a lot more peace and opportunities and creativity. So the second way to accept yourself is to be a detective about it. In other words, a detective or reporter wants to get evidence, right? Find out the evidence of who you are. Hey, who is this person? In my case, Philip. Who am I? What do I do? What do I look like? What do I say? What do I think? Start to gather the evidence in a more factual, objective way. And you can make perceptions and evaluations on it too. But first, just gather the evidence of your inner world, your feelings and your thoughts, and your outer world. What's out there? How are you behaving? How are you acting? Observe yourself. Third way to accept yourself: respond instead of react. Now, sometimes we do have to react. We have to jump out of a moving train or an obstacle or something in nature. We have to really just instinctively get out of the way. True, but usually life is not that reactive. We don't have to be in a survival mode usually. And so if we do get into survival mode too much, that actually is undue stress, and that will lead to all kinds of problems. So when something comes up, something difficult to accept, pause if you can, breathe, relax, kind of take it in, and that will also activate the higher cortical brain areas and open your heart, and then you can respond. And guess what? More possibilities emerge, more choice, more power, more understanding, and that's a wonderful thing to help you accept yourself. It makes it a lot easier to be present and to deal when life does present stressors. And the fourth way to accept yourself is forgive yourself. We've all done things we regret. We've all transgressed on other people, and people have done that to us. That's part of life. We don't want to hold that in us, hold us back, limit us, reduce our chances of being who we are because we're something wrong, we're flawed, we're shamed, and we have these parts of ourselves to deal with. And until they're sort of recognized and acknowledged, therefore it can lead to acceptance, they're there. These hidden grievances weigh us down. So recognize areas that maybe you've been done wrong or you've done wrong to others. EFT, the tapping technique, can help you. You can do an even though this happened or something happened bad to me or I did something bad to someone else, I can forgive myself and others on all levels. And then you do the tapping, the EFT, the tapping points, and that clears the energy circuits. Now, this is a good way to loosen you up, to start to forgive yourself and accept yourself. And you have to be ready to do that. That's the caveat. You must be ready to forgive yourself. And if you're not, just know it's something that you're going to work yourself toward sooner or later. So those are 4 things you can do. You can accept yourself in those 4 ways that I mentioned. You can set that intention. You can be a detective about it, find out about yourself. You can react. You can respond instead of react, and you can forgive yourself. So those are 4 ways to accept yourself. And ultimately, you will take command of your life. Some things you can control, some things you can't. You'll get a sense of what the difference is and what's in between, and you'll do what psychologists call is self-regulation. You'll regulate yourself. You'll be able to respond more normally to situations instead of overreacting or underreacting and going numb. You're better regulated. You're more in the flow, so to speak. You're flowing. And that will accept your strengths and weaknesses. And you can minimize your weaknesses and build on your strengths and naturally evolve into a better you, a better version of you, which is actually easier to accept.